Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:04 PM. So this is the annual reorganization meeting for the board. Per your policy 151.1, I will preside until, or the election of the president, and then the newly elected president will chair the meeting from that point on. You do have a policy 152 that outlines your procedures tonight for the election of officers. I'll just read part of it. It does say the board shall elect, and this is also statutory, from its members, a president, vice president, treasurer, and clerk. And per your policy on the process of that, it says nominations for the board officers shall, at the request of a board member, be by written ballot, and any member receiving a vote is nominated. So do I have a request for written nominations? Susan?
I would like to make a request for written nominations.
Okay, so we will have written nominations. So again, nominations for each office, every individual may make a nomination, and then whomever is nominated, then we'll have the election, for the vote. So at this time, I'd like to take nominations for the position of president. If you'd like to nominate someone, please write down your nomination on the Post-it note. Tish will collect those, and then she'll inform us of who is nominated for the position of president.
I like the sticky notes this year.
Oh, my pen's not working.
Here you go.
Thank you.
As opposed to
Oh, wait.
printing out the individual pages.
Oh, yeah,
I like the sticky, I like the
the
sticky.
sticky.
Yeah, it was like a one pager. That's how it's always
Yeah, we
been.
needed like one of those.
just easier.
I know, I like the
And it would
sticky
just
note.
Put them in there like.
You don't have to worry about colors.
This is the first time that it's done without the pre-printed pages.
I know, I kind of
And
like
it's,
it though.
it's fine.
Well,
There
it's
was always such
because
a-
Tish left me off last year, so she was afraid to do
Review the process
One
to
of the
ensure
reasons
fidelity of it.
Well, again, you've got a new board member, so it is helpful to have the written ballot. But remember, we
Oh,
got
we have
to,
name tags now.
yes. And actually, remember Phil got left off of one of the ballots?
Yeah, that was last
Yeah,
year.
that it was. And we're all going, what? But we noticed, so.
Okay, we have three nominees for president. We have Elizabeth, Eric, and Philip. Do you know the vote?
No. Okay, so next will be then the vote for the position of president. And again, per your policy, you may request a secret ballot versus any other kind of vote. So do I have any request from a board member for a secret written ballot?
Sorry, I was under the impression that once we requested using the paper ballot for the elections, and maybe we need to change that language rather than just the nominations, we didn't have to do it every time. I did notice in this draft, it had it in every time, but
I would agree that you do not need to do it for every position. I think just once at the beginning for all the positions to be clear that you're going to use written ballots.
want me to make that,
It just does not need to be a motion, right? Just a request to be.
I would like to make a request that the election for all the officers be by written ballot. And basically, I said election, so that would include the nomination and the actual vote.
I appreciate the clarification. So, okay, I'm sorry, could you read again the three nominees?
Elizabeth, Eric, and Philip.
Okay, so if everyone would place one vote for one of the nominees, and then Tish will compile the votes.
It's really efficient, Tish.
How do you make that?
Sticky notes are.
I mean, it can't be that much more expensive than all the papers that you have to print, right?
No, it's a huge savings for her time. is what it is.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you think about capacity and supply,
Yeah.
that's is this your idea, Tish? It's
But you can also get these without the sticky stuff on the back.
I know,
Which is
but I just
really
pulling
it apart
I'm
every
really
2
blown
minutes,
away by
right?
the sticky note situation.
You're easily impressed.
Yeah.
Oh, and it was an accident.
The history of the sticky note?
Yeah, this was, I was admitting almost at the time when they invented these, and it was an accident that
I
it was, they were trying to make a permanent adhesive. Yeah.
My recollection is the engineer was trying to fix his prom in choir. He was in his church choir and he couldn't get his notes to stick to the music.
Yeah.
He was using it himself for
We,
a long time and then.
have one person with 4 votes, and that,
Okay, so what we need is a majority of the board, so 4 votes or more for the election. If we failed to get 4 votes, then we would move on with the top 2 vote getters until eventually we had a majority of the board. All right, so you could actually read the vote totals for each nominee.
Elizabeth Cook has 4 votes, Eric Hartz has 2, and Philip has 1.
Okay, so Elizabeth Cook has been elected as president. And
Yes.
Head of the table.
I don't like it.
Now do you see why I say
I like my corner table.
Do you want me to go print you the script?
I've got it.
Okay. No.
Thank you, everybody.
a really hard time sitting here. Well, the seat, there's a seat there, so.
But could have been anybody, could have been Philip, could have been Eric. All right, what is next? All right, the next is nominations for vice president. So go ahead and write your nominations on your sticky note for vice president and hand them to Tish.
Wait.
Oh, I have to vote. I forgot. I want to nominate, that's fine. So we're gonna have something permanent? Like something permanent?
Yeah, it was supposed to, yes. It wasn't good, they didn't stick well, and then somebody had, there's something else we could do.
Better idea. Permanent is a terrible idea.
Well, sometimes you want to make things permanent.
Not like I just can't, I'm trying to imagine like the circumstance in which you want like a permanent, like, piece of paper sticking to something. Like, I feel like the use case for that must be really small.
Okay, we have 2 nominees for vice president, Eric Hartz and Philip Haven.
I can make this easy. I'll withdraw my name.
So if we only have one candidate, do we need to vote anyway out of,
You do not, the nominee is automatically elected per your policy.
congratulations. You did it. All right, next is the election of treasurer. I could have nominations for treasurer, please.
Want to remind us what the treasurer's
I was
duties
just
are?
gonna say, we've got a new board member. It might be nice to give a little heads up on what.
Dan?
I'm sure she's read her board docs and seen the policy, because that's the kind of thorough person Janice is.
Enough to know that I don't want that job.
Respectfully withdraw my nomination before.
Depends on who you've been treasurer with. So I was treasurer with Jared, so I mean, it was really easy and so pleasant. Now Tanya can find us another Jared. Or Mark, or whoever can do the work.
Who's Valerie Lukens?
Valerie.
Sorry, I'm looking at the policy. It says the duties of the treasurer, and the bottom of the page, it says last modified by Valerie Lukens, August 19th, 13th, 2019.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's gotta be any old person. No. Valerie Lukens.
Valerie Lukens, is she Neola?
She works for Board Docs.
Oh, got it.
Or Neil, they're kind of combined, so one or
Okay,
the other.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we have 2 nominees for treasurer, Peter Sobel and Susan Manning.
Can I make a suggestion? Tish isn't on a mic, so could you repeat when you?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, it's okay, I just got a text that people can't hear.
Oh, thank you. So we have 2 nominees, Peter Sobel and Susan Manning. So everyone could make their vote. Thank you, Katie.
There's never anybody here for this meeting.
Hello.
Right, us.
Thank you for your patronage on
That's
YouTube.
it open on there.
Someone has it
We're all
open.
sticking
I mean, someone has open enough to tell Katie that they couldn't hear. Yeah, well, I mean, that's great.
Okay, so we have 2 votes for Susan and 5 votes for Peter.
Great. Congratulations, Peter.
Congratulations.
Our new treasurer.
Plus he's experienced, he can do that.
All right, next up, we will take nominations for clerk. And as a reminder, Susan Manning and Peter Sobel are up for re-election in 2025.
Wants to be clerk. That's trash.
Okay.
Want to hand it to me, Tisha? There's a garbage bag here I can throw.
Old history. Oh, wait. Oh, oh.
No need to rush. You got all day.
No, I'm not good enough.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Old history. Hopefully it all goes away.
No, that's good.
Post-it notes are not, however, recycled, just so you know.
Because the adhesive on the back?
With a patch, with it dissolved.
Like the
Don't recycle your 3M.
Mr. Fax
I
tonight?
mean, you've met Peter, right?
How was super glue? Why was,
Good friend of mine.
why was super glue invented?
I don't know. That one I don't know.
We
Good,
expect a report at the next meeting.
a guy I worked with, good friend of mine, when I lived in Minneapolis, his wife was a
All
purchase.
right, I think
agent.
Tisha's ready. Tisha's ready, Peter.
We have 2 nominees, Rochelle Miller and Janice Stone.
All right, Janice and Rochelle are both nominated for clerk.
I really don't want to do this job.
So Janice is, I'm hearing you as
I'm
withdrawing your
withdrawing.
nomination.
I'd like to spend a year on the board figuring out what's going on
Sure.
first.
That's fair. All right, that makes Rochelle our clerk. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so we have all of our officers, and now we are going to the designation of depositories for school funds. So this is approval of a resolution naming the following institutions as depositories for school funds for the Monona Grove School District: Monona State Bank, Summit Credit Union, PMA Financial Network Incorporated, and the statutorily authorized investment options to which they recommend, U.S. Bank and Wisconsin Investment Series Cooperative.
So moved.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Any further discussion?
So, I'm sorry, did you read the?
I read the full motion, yeah.
And did you read it as Lake Ridge Bank? Because
Oh.
Monona State Bank is not there any
Yeah,
longer.
so this was an early copy. It has been corrected on board docs, but not on this document. My
All right,
apologies.
so can someone make a motion with the modification for Lake
I
Ridge
would like
Bank?
to like to make a motion to amend a friendly amendment to the previous motion to change Monona State Bank to Lake Ridge Bank. Well, with a friendly amendment, if
No,
they
you
don't
don't.
oppose it, then it just.
Got it. Thank you, Susan, for the correction.
That can be corrected without approval. Yes.
Okay, great. Any further discussion? All right, Do we need to take a roll call vote for these?
I think a voice vote would be appropriate for these.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, the next is the scheduling of the regular board meetings.
Okay, so by statute, the board must have one regular meeting per month. You recall this past year that you chose to have that one regular meeting, which then means sometimes some special meetings or workshops. Historically, at other years, the board has done 2 meetings per month. The second one can be canceled if there's not agenda items, if you go that route. So we did provide for you 2 potential schedules to consider in scheduling your board meetings for the upcoming year.
I would move approval of the 1 meeting per month, 2024, 2025 board meeting schedule as presented.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion?
I feel like what we did last year was a little bit harried, and I would prefer going twice a month and having it in the schedule and canceling if need be.
Susan?
Would also support that. I suggested that last year. It's easy to cancel the second meeting and just rely on the first meeting. But particularly with things that we're going to be moving through, hiring a new HR director, hiring a new director of business services, I think we can always cancel. I would suggest we stay with 2 at least for working through this through September.
Other thoughts? Yeah, Eric.
I appreciate that, Susan, but it is not easy for me to cancel anything because once it's on my calendar, then I have to make a lot of arrangements for that. So canceling is the same as having it scheduled for me. Childcare, coordinating with 2 kids and a newborn or, a 1-year-old at home makes it difficult for me if I got to put it on there. So if it's on there for me, canceling it is sometimes even more, creates more chaos for me because then I like, oh, we had a babysitter. Now we don't need a babysitter. This is so. For me, it's different. I would prefer 1 meeting again, but.
Janice?
I would love to have 2. Not that I love meetings, but I think it would also give us the opportunity to do some things that maybe we haven't done. And one of the ideas I'd like to share is having a time on one of the meetings per month where teachers would have the opportunity to sign up and come talk about the cool things that are going on in their classrooms. Like, not an administrative report, not a building report, but just like, hey, this week I was doing this cool thing with my class, and not having to use public comment for that, because I feel like every time somebody uses public comment, that 3-minute deadline is just like really hard. So I would like to have 2, plus then they wouldn't be as long. And it would give us the chance to like meet and talk about something and then not go for 4 hours and then, go have another meeting and maybe we needed to do some research on something. It just would give us a better workflow. That's just my opinion.
Thanks, Janice. Peter?
We've been doing 1 meeting a month, and I think that that's been working fine. And particularly when you consider, the committee meetings going on, all the things we're doing in personnel, for example. That's a lot of time slots taken up. And, sure, if we have different meetings, it's shorter, but you know what? My Wednesday evening is shot anyway. So I'd rather do, I'm not going to be able to get much else done on that Wednesday evening. So I'd much rather have, even if it means a longer meeting. I don't think our meetings have been pretty good. I don't think I don't think they've been bad. So it's both more convenient for me, and plus I like to dedicate the time to, we've been doing important work in personnel. We've got the, and TLE, and we've got the boundary committee coming up too. And this is a lot of time, starts to get to be a lot of time slots. So I would prefer the 1 meeting a month for now. We can always schedule extra, when we need to, which is what we've done. And sometimes a little bit of pain to do the scheduling in, but I think I'd still rather do that because we can fit those around the various member schedules, and I don't think we've had any trouble doing that.
Susan?
I strongly support their two meetings, and one of the reasons is I think it's been extremely difficult to schedule the second meeting. And I think a really good example of that is trying to schedule approval of the new superintendent's contract and approve that. And by doing that, in fact, it was very, very difficult for one board member to attend at that time.
Well, that was me, Susan, since you're talking about me, and I had one day to do that. So it wasn't the fact that it was really difficult, it was the fact that we had to schedule it with 1 day's notice.
It was also,
And the
Hold
second
on.
meeting
Can
would have
you-
changed it.
Yeah, Philip, can you wait and let Susan finish?
it was also difficult for me that night. I canceled another board meeting to be able to be here. So the other thing that I have kind of missed this year, although by going to Teaching, Learning, Equity, I am able to get that information. But Dan had often used that second board meeting to finish particular policy work, which is very extensive. We just approved another 10 to 15 policies that we're going to be bringing back. And the other thing that we have always done, and I'm not remembering that we've even scheduled that, is we always did often workshops every couple of months, and we met with all the principals from all the buildings, and they all gave us reports. That kind of data, it's much more difficult to get that forward to us in the amount of time that we have scheduled for action. So again, I would support the second meeting and canceling it if it's not needed.
Yeah, I appreciate this, Susan. Before, Philip, I just want to name that are around the superintendent pieces, we were in a really tight turnaround because the goal was to try to get it done prior to the new board taking over. And so I think while I agree with a lot of what you said around two meetings, that one in particular is not quite the same circumstance as the other ones. Go ahead, Philip.
We're going to hire two
Susan,
new
Philip has his hand
members.
raised. Go ahead, Philip.
Yeah, so that one's a great example. We met last week on Tuesday. The second board meeting would have been 2 days from now. It wouldn't have had any impact on our need to meet last week. So we would have had 3 board meetings this month, and that's my fear, right? This whole year, we've done 1 meeting. I've been keeping loose track of the times we've had to meet, especially, and when we would have had a, normal second meeting. And that second meeting sometimes would have been a week later than the special meeting we had. And sometimes the communication from the administration's been, we really need to get X, figured out and voted on by the end of this week. And even if we'd had one on the calendar, we would have ended up with 3 meetings that month on top of personnel, on top of whatever. And so that's my personal, fear, is that even if we throw a second meeting on the calendar, it just won't line up with some of the stuff where we'll say, hey, we got to get that offer out to the new HR director this week. We can't wait till next Wednesday for the 4th Wednesday of the month to approve it. Great, now I got 3 meetings, right? And that happened a number of times this last year where I saw a specially meeting a full week or a week and a half before that potential second meeting would have fallen. The other thing I'll just say quick before I stop is, like Eric, with little kids, if I lock that Wednesday on the calendar, we better use it. Like, we better not chalk up that first meeting and then roll in here for 10 minutes and, vote on 2 measly things and walk out of here. So.
Peter?
And we also have a new superintendent who we don't know how that is, how, they're going to have a lot of work to do. And I do not want to unnecessarily, I want us to work with Tanya about how we do how we work through our meetings and how we work through our schedule and how she works through our, how we work with her through that. And we can always add meetings. But at this point, I don't want to have to commit Tanya to that extra time. She's going to have plenty to do as it is.
I can be totally flexible with 1 meeting or 2 meetings. I just know from seeing us on those longer meetings, we are not good. We do not ask good questions. By the end of the one night we had till 10:30, people were not in discussion anymore. And if we're working all day, like most of us do, then to come and be a good listener and asking good questions, you fizzle at a certain point. And I just feel like we owe it to our constituents that we're 100% when we're here meeting in regards to this district.
I agree that my preference is 2 meetings. I hear what you're saying, Philip, and I would say that being in an experience that we had one meeting and a lot of special meetings, and then we moved to 2 meetings, and we actually didn't have as many special meetings because we were able to load those agendas in a particular way. That's my preference. I also understand, and I completely agree with you, Eric, that like, if it's on the calendar, it might as well be happening, regardless of whether it gets canceled or not. I guess my wondering to you all is, because we get to set the locations too, and so what do you all think about, or would it be possible for us to do 1 meeting a month in person? And would it make a difference if that second meeting a month was virtual instead? And we didn't have to come to the board office for it? Doesn't make a
It makes no difference to me.
It does make a difference to me.
I mean, I whether it's virtual or I prefer in-person over virtual in so many ways. I hate virtual meetings. I just can't stand it. That's not my issue with it.
Peter, what about you? Thank you, Eric.
It's just the logistics are easier and so on if we do it, do it virtually. And I understand the desire to meet in person, but if we're doing 1 a month in person and we meet once virtually, that's preferred. If we're gonna.
Yeah, if we're gonna go down the 2 meeting route, virtual would be my preference for the second meeting.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
Well, sounds like the votes are there, but I'll just say one more time, like, the arguments I've heard were that we start to fizzle out or, drain. I don't think that's true. I think that's maybe a perception that you might have, Rochelle. It's not my perception. I think we've been productive right up till the end of the meeting. I mean, I can make the same argument that anytime we have a meeting that goes a little long, just naturally, the discussion changes a little bit, but I really don't think this board that's too much of a concern for me. I don't think that we meet longer, and I know that because I can tell if I get home before bedtime or not, and usually I do make it there. So I haven't really noticed that the length of the meetings are significantly different than when we had 2 meetings. Now, I don't know if you've been on the board when we had 2 meetings, Rochelle, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so when we had 2 meetings, I did not find that we were necessarily ending that much earlier, in my experience. And again, I'm gauging that on the bedtime of my daughter, which is around 8:39. So if I make it home before that, I know that, and most of the time I have. There's been a couple that I haven't. So I just think also we've been meeting once a month, and like Peter alluded to, with all the other meetings that we have to schedule for committees, I think we've been pretty productive as a board. So we can always change it if it doesn't work out. But I don't see the issues or problems with the past year that we've been meeting. I'm taking the pandemic out of this. But so the last year that we've been meeting once a month, I just don't see the issues, especially with our agendas. There's only been a couple times where they've been really long, but for the most part, we've, been able to get through them. Now, we're going to have issues that come up, that unplanned issues that we're going to probably have to be here for a long time. We don't know what those are yet. And I think, when that happens, it's not going to matter if we're meeting twice a month or once a month. So I would just ask the board to reconsider once a month since we've been doing it.
Bob?
That's all I was going to say. What Eric said at the end there is my observation over the past year is the handful of times we've been here longer, I don't think a second meeting would have mitigated that. There was a hot issue that was urgent, and it stacked on top of another issue that we had to do in closed session or something else, and we wouldn't have sat there and said, nah, we're going to talk about this in 2 weeks. We would have been here anyway. And so again, that's just my reiteration is that it's going to happen. We're going to end up with longer meetings, whether we have 2 a month or 1 a month, because the issues don't line up neatly with the schedule, whether we like it or not. And so again, my fear is that we'll have a meeting often that either gets canceled or is really light. And so I guess I would ask, if we do 2 meetings, I'd like to be very deliberate about spreading things out to them. I mean, let's make it count, right? So I don't care if if someone wants something talked about, let's put it off 2 weeks to the next meeting. We scheduled it, right? I don't want to load up one meeting and then come in here for 45 minutes and vote a consent agenda through 2 things on and go home, and haven't blocked the whole night out. So.
Janice?
So question, I heard Eric say, like, if we, for example, voted on one meeting a month, we could change it partway through the year? No.
Change it anytime.
Change
we want.
anytime we want.
Okay.
Well, actually, that goes both ways.
Right.
So we can vote for the 2 and change it to 1. But I think, again, part of it is sometimes you have too much history, but there are significant issues that we used to address as a board, including just lists of data about what's going on in the district at the different schools, whether it's absenteeisms by rate, by race, I mean, just a whole variety of things that, or working on a strategic plan. Often Dan would do a really great job of putting all the material that we really needed and maybe needed to act on in one. And then you do the things like review of policy and having a principal come in and talk, or having Krista come in and talk about her program, or MG21. That gives you the other opportunity. The other thing is we usually don't schedule one in November or December because of the school scheduling. And so you really don't end up with 2 a month. You end up with probably 2 out of 8 months. But it gives you the opportunity to bring this other information forward that is a board right now. And part of it is, a couple of you guys haven't seen us do those projects.
I will say the one thing I do miss, back when we had 2 meetings a month, was we did have the buildings come in and present, and we haven't seen buildings present. And I can imagine that part of that is because there isn't time and space on the agenda to do that. So that's, to me, like the biggest thing I missed from 2 meetings. Yeah, Peter.
Last thing I'm going to say, which is historically, when I started on this board, we did 1 meeting a month. We had committees. We relied on the committee work. I think it worked better. I think it was more effective. There was less arguing, there's less debate on the board because we could really marinate problems in the committees and come up with solutions. I think it worked better to do it that way. And I think we're getting back into a place where we're relying more on the committee work. We've got some really good committee work going on, and we're relying more on it. And I like to emphasize that, as I think it's important. I think it works well. Like I said, there's a number of things, slots already for meetings. So that's why I prefer one board meeting, and I think the board should just rely a little bit on the committees, because people who are on those committees are the ones who are really interested in the topic and are going to help develop that.
And I know we want to go forward. This is what's hard, trying to do a discussion. I don't want to put you in a bad spot, but the fact is, back then, just so you all know, we had a finance committee, we had a curriculum committee, we had a long-term building committee. So we may have been able to do that. Let me tell you, and Peter, I'm sure you remember this, there were multiple meetings that went after 11 o'clock at night, and there were 2 in a row that went until midnight. And I can tell you who the superintendent
Members of your-
But that was after we just had board meetings. We didn't have those committees, and we were just doing 2
Well,
board
and
meetings.
I also think,
Yeah,
so
multiple committees.
I'm gonna pause the discussion now, because I also think too, is different time, different makeup of the board. Why don't we have a motion on the table, so let's just call a question, let's vote, see where we're at. Go from there. Let's do a roll call vote. So what's on the table right now is 1 meeting a month. So roll call vote, let's start with you, Rochelle.
I'm going to say no.
Susan?
Nay.
Philip?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Peter? Janice? Elizabeth, aye. And that's 4,
Yep.
4 to 3, no, right, or yes?
Yes, 4 to 3.
All right, so we're 1 meeting a month.
Okay.
That was the toughest decision we've made in a long time.
I lost the count. It was a good discussion, and I appreciate the idea of being able to bring in some more consistency. For me, I want to watch and see whether or not there's a need for us to, if we continue to have like lots of special meetings, I think that it's good evidence that we need to add in a standing meeting. But I appreciate the discussion. All right. Moving on, designation of legal counsel. I don't trust myself to read motions on the paper anymore, so can I get a motion for our legal counsel?
Move approval of a resolution naming the following firms as legal counsel for the Monona Grove School District: Boardman and Clark Law Offices, WASB Counsel, Quarles and Brady, DeWitt, Ross and Stevens SC, Godfrey and Kahn SC, Renning, Lewis and Lacey SC, Von Vriesen and Roper SC, and Bulow, Vetter, Bukema, Olson, and Ville LLC.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Dan, just a quick question, confirming these are the same attorneys as,
Yeah.
no change?
Yep.
Right, no discussion, let's do roll call vote. Rochelle?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Philip?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Peter? Janice?
Aye.
Elizabeth, aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, next is the designation of the official newspaper.
I move approval of a resolution naming the Herald Independent and McFarland Thistle as the official newspaper of the school district.
I second.
Great, any further discussion? Great, roll call vote. Rochelle?
Aye.
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Philip?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Janice?
Aye.
Elizabeth, aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next is designation of membership into professional organization.
I move approval of a resolution naming the following organizations as the professional organizations which the Monona Grove School Board, Monona Grove School District are members: Wisconsin Association of School Boards and Wisconsin Public Education Network, and season number 2.
Well, second.
Good job, Peter. Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote. Rochelle?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Philip?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Janice? Elizabeth, aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, now we need the designation of the CISA 2 representative. So who is interested in being CISA 2 representative this year? Don't all jump at once, friends. Who did it last year? And Rochelle, how was your experience?
Well, it was a nice night. I drove to Whitewater. You have to go to Whitewater for it. And they had some food and it had a nice presentation. But they are looking for somebody to represent for, I think there's like, they want you to do a 3-year commitment. And it's once a month in Whitewater. So the representative from McFarland represented, so I think it's safe that anybody could go and not necessarily be on the spot. So I think because he's got a 3-year term.
Clarifying question, is it a 3-year term to represent CISA 2 amongst the CISAs?
Yes,
Yeah,
I believe
there's the
so. Yep.
one meeting where every school district is represented, so there are 72
Yep.
school districts in CISA 2, and then they also have their own board of control.
Got it.
And those are separated, and so
Got
you're
it.
exactly right, Rochelle, the group that you are in has the representative, there is not an opening for this year.
Great, so that's McFarland, so.
And it sounds like the meetings are great. It's just a big commitment.
Rochelle, are you interested in being CISA 2 again?
Well, now that I know what to expect, I'll go. Do we know when the meeting is?
June 18th.
So let me just check before I commit.
We typically have appointed an alternate, and
I move approval of Rochelle serving the CISA 2.
You gotta wait. She's
Yeah.
checking.
Just
Oh,
checking
she's
it.
in Scott.
And we
I'm
need an
sorry, I
alternate
thought you
too.
said you.
Yeah, alternate too, Peter.
No, we do. Have to.
Second runner-up in the event that Rochelle can't make it.
All right, as long as I can pick Elliot up from running camp before then, I can do it.
Who is interested in being the alternate? Janice?
Genesis.
That feels fair. That feels fair, Janice.
I will be the alternate.
Great.
There you go.
Can I get a motion, please?
I move approval of Rochelle serving as the CISA 2 representative and Janice serving as the alternate for 2024, 2025.
Second.
Any further discussion? Great, roll call vote before Janice can change her mind. Rochelle?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Philip?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Peter? Janice?
Aye.
Elizabeth? Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Voice vote would be faster, just.
Oh, I know. I keep forgetting that I can do voice vote for these. All right. Designation of Monona Grove Education Foundation representative, which historically has been Susan Manning.
So if there's, again, I've tried to encourage other board members to do this. It is Tuesday afternoons at 4 o'clock, which isn't always ideal for people. it is a great opportunity to see the funding. In truth, I've helped with the fundraising for years. There is an expectation that you do come and you kind of pay attention but you don't speak or you don't have to be involved, and then you have to report back to the board. So again, I'd be willing to continue to do it if it's not convenient for other people, but if there's somebody else that would be interested, I think this would be a nice time to have somebody else do it.
Well, they do meet virtually.
They do meet, yes.
So Susan has been doing this job for a very long time, and she's very good at it. And so I'd be happy to have you do it again. But if anyone else is interested in taking over representation for Monona Grove Education Foundation,
I would do it, except that I've got like the tennis boundary committee and stuff. I don't want to commit to another one.
yeah. Anyone else interested?
The other thing I'd be more than happy to do is if somebody else would like to just sit in and be the rep for that particular meeting, if it turns out to be convenient for them, I would be more than happy, to have them. Dean used to be the backup person. And then, what also has happened in that situation is that we've had a board rep and they haven't really been able to attend. So it's really a super fundraising group, and they've done a lot of wonderful things for the district.
I move approval of Susan Manning. You're good with that? To be the representative, okay.
No, I
Serving,
promise I won't.
oh, wait, I'm on the CISA one, I'm sorry.
Yep.
No,
Hold on.
You.
Move approval
Don't
of
try to replace
Susan
it.
Manning serving as the Monona Grove Education Foundation representative for 2023, 2024.
Second.
Any further discussion? Voice vote. Thanks for the reminder, Peter. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, almost through this. Designation of the Wisconsin Association of School Board Delegate, which I think, Philip, you were last year, right?
I was, and I'd be happy to do it again. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
But if somebody else would like to do it.
Is there anyone else?
Janice, are you familiar with what this one is?
No, I went to the new board member orientation held by WASB, but that's my first meeting.
Okay. So yeah, at the annual WASB convention in January, they have a delegate assembly and they vote on resolutions, and it's kind of like the House of Representatives. You have a paddle and you raise your paddle, and I found it very interesting. So I would do it again, but if anyone else would like to.
So typically, sometimes we don't get to this. We, as a board, will take a look at the proposed resolutions that are before WASB, and people will comment. Well, if there's anything that's controversial, we'll come to a decision about it and give direction to the delegate about how to vote.
You get to hear opinions from all the districts in the state. Well, I shouldn't say all, but some come with strong opinions and speak, and yeah.
And in the end, they produce a document that they say gets sent to the legislature as representing what WASB is interested in.
So it sounds like Philip wants to do it again. Who would like to be the alternate for that? Great. Janice as the alternate. Can I get a motion, please?
I move approval of Philip Haven serving as the Wisconsin Association for School Board delegate, and Janice Stone is serving as the alternative for 2023, 2024.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, the designation of the board legislative liaison. Who did this last year? Did you do this last
I
year?
did it, and I didn't really do too much. I met with Senator Agard and a couple times, but it'd be probably better if somebody, I don't know, Janice, if you'd be interested in this, it might be something that, there's not really any. But there is, like with the new, they set the CPI and stuff, and then any laws that might change, it's like helpful. So it probably just involves, checking in with your representative, our representatives here, legislative and Senate, to see if there's any updates regarding with education. So it would be on your timeline, really, and then bringing that information back to the board.
Historically, Susan Fox held the position for a number of years and would go down to the Capitol, to listen or put in testimony, those kinds of things. So that's always an option as well.
I remember a student telling me how impactful her testimony was, so, yeah.
Great. Can I have a motion, please?
Move approval of Janice Stone serving as a legislative liaison for 2024, 2025.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, ayes have it, motion carries. All right, well, great job, everybody. We've officially reorged, and now we've got one action item, which is the administrator resignation.
Before we get to that,
Yeah.
Elizabeth, can you give maybe just an overview? I assume you'll be reaching out to board members for committees and stuff, but Janice probably isn't familiar.
Yes, thank you, Eric. For everyone, so we've got several committees happening right now. We've got Teaching, Learning, and Equity, which is our committee mostly around curriculum, learning, and the intersection of equity sort of within those pieces. Personnel, which I know that you're familiar with, Janice. Policy Committee, and then Teaching, Learning, and Equity have a subcommittee right now on boundaries for the K-2 transition. So this time of year, we select new chairs for that committee as well as new members. So there's one chair and then two standing board members of that. And so I was thinking, but this is a good question for you all, sort of similar to how the process has gone in the past. If you're interested in chairing a committee and you want to email me around that, or interested in being on a committee, email me, and then we'll work through committee assignments that way, unless someone objects to that and you want to have a discussion about it.
I would just ask that you make sure you involve the previous people on the committee before any decisions are made.
Thank you, Eric. Great. Anything else about reorg or any other questions you have, Janice, before we move on?
I don't think so, but thank you for going through the committees because that was helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Eric, for the prompt. All right. Moving on to possible action items, administrator resignation.
Attached is resignation of our current Business Services Director, Mark Powell, effective June 30th.
Does it? I mean, with a new superintendent coming in, then they get an opportunity to bring in somebody.
We don't, continuity is a good thing.
Yeah.
Move approval of Director of Business Services resignation as presented.
I second that.
Any further discussion? Do I need a roll call for this one, or can I voice vote?
Probably.
Okay. Roll call vote. Rochelle?
Aye.
Susan? Aye. Philip?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Janice? Aye. Elizabeth, aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. And I believe that brings us to the end of the agenda, right? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
We adjourn?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries, meeting is adjourned. Nice work, everybody.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.